Okay, good. So today we will be discussing like what is level numbers basically. So let's take an example of declaring a variable WS name. So in WS name, 01 stands for level number. Okay. And WS name starts for data name. And pick X of 09 basically picture class. And the value mainframe. So this represent value class. So for this variable, what is the data is the value represents the data. Mainframe is stored in WS name. So we call this as value class. This is as picture class, and this is data name. Basically, what is the field name? This is the level number. So we will be discussing level number today. So what is level number? Level number is basically divided into two types: group item and elementary item. So what is meant by a group item? Group item is something it does not, it consists of one or more elementary items. So group level number is always 01 basically. First group level number will always be 01. Okay. You consider this as first group number. Group number as always 01. Later on we can have other groups also, but the later on groups will be always an elementary group and a group basically. So the first group, what is meant by first group is this one. Let's say if we are taking a student record, let me go to what is student record, explain that. But what is elementary record is elementary item is a record which can be divided further into multiple segments, multiple fields. We call that as elementary items. Let's take one example. Okay. So before taking example, I want to say 01 always represent group item and it is called as record description. 0 to 49 we call that as elementary items or group items. Depending on scenario, we can mention that as group items, but mostly we call them as elementary items. There are other level numbers also like 66, 88, 77. 66 and 88 I will be telling further down in the classes when I am explaining the Cobol concept. But you remember this 77. This cannot be further divided into any other group. 77 is the last elementary group item in the Cobol. It cannot be further divided. Okay. Let me take one example and explain what is this group item and what is elementary items. So let's consider a student record basically. Okay. Student record is group item because it on top of the student record there are nothing says that it is a subdivision of some group, because we are taking student record as main group, so we consider that as group item. So after student record, the student record consists of student name and student date of birth. So the student record is divided into two elementary groups, which is student name and date of birth, student date of birth. So we call this as group item and these 05 levels as elementary groups. Are we good here? Any doubts?
Why we can't declare 05 as in group item?
Generally, let's say you are taking an entity, right? The representation of entity can we can take that, but if it is a standard declaration to have always 01 as group item, so it represents an entity basically. We can do that. We can mention this as 06.
Mm-hmm.
Like here we can mention 06 instead of 05 because these are elementary items, right? So we can mention this as 06, this as 05. But when you are trying to represent a record as entity, if you represent that as 01, because let's say if it is 05, that means it can be subdivision of I mean elementary of any other group, right? On top of it we can mention anything. 01
Okay.
we can mention it and can say student. But student and this basically represent same thing, right? Then what is the necessity of because I mean to say that on top of this record group item, that will not be any other entity to represent basically. You got that point, Madhavi?
Yes, sir.
So it is something that it can be divided into multiple elementary items, but it is not having anything on top of it. So for those entity types, we mention that as group item. A group
Okay.
item can be divided into one or two elementary groups, but it will not have anything on top of it, basically. So here student
Okay.
record will not have anything on top of it. So we generally mention that as 01. It will be a standard declaration, basically. If you mention 5, some people will understand there is something on top of student record. But with respect to data, there will not be anything with respect to student record. On top of student record, there is no data present on top of it. So it will be a standard declaration. If we mention that 01, the people who are able to see that record declaration can able to understand this is the starting point of that record. On top of this record, there is no data present. The people can easily able to understand that. Due to that only, we give that as group item. So once group item is declared, it can have multiple one or two sub items, sub elementary items. So here the student name and date of birth are elementary items. So here 05 represent as elementary item. Here also 05 represent elementary item, because student record is divided into student name and date of birth. So with respect to 01, it is an elementary item. Okay. But when you look at these elementary item, because student name can further divided into first name, middle name, last name. So with respect to these elementary items, it is a group item, right?
Yeah.
So here 05 can be a group item or elementary item.
After 05, why you have not given 06?
We can give.
We can give, right?
We can give. That is not a problem. We can give till 49. We can give whatever the number we require. But generally, what we do is, let's say if I give 07 here, what generally programming standards is, we leave one elementary item in between. Let's say there is one requirement. After that, somehow we got something where we need to add. How do I say? One more field with respect to 05. Okay. And after for that 05, there are multiple elementary groups where we can add 06 for that. So for future, looking at the future requirement, people will generally keep that as skipping that. For to accommodate future requirements, we generally keep 2 extra there. But we can keep 06 also. That is not a problem. Generally, the elementary groups will start from 0 to 49. Okay. Or else 77 also we can give. 77 is something that it cannot be further divided into other elementary groups. Like 07, 01 will not have any record or any group item on top of it. Similarly, last group item is 77. It says that you cannot subdivide this group this into another elementary items. This is the last. So if you feel that there are no subgroups under it, you can mention that as 77. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you are able to like student name can have multiple field types under it, then you can mention at 05, 06, 07. But if you are not this we can make is as 07, because it cannot be 77, because it cannot have any subdivisions under it, right? This will be the last name cannot have subdivisions. So we can mention this as 77. That is not a problem. But here we cannot mention as 77 because it is already having elementary items. So it should not be 7. It should be always between 02 to 048, basically. Okay.